Hello and welcome to this ToK Today update. I'm Daniel and I'm here with a quick and hopefully useful breakdown of the November 24 ToK Subject Report. Now, this is the report that's written by ToK examiners after each exam session. It's essential reading for us ToK teachers for understanding how students performed in both the essay and the exhibition and how we can help them to perform better in the future. So let's start with the ToK Essay. In terms of general performance, the ToK examiners said that this was a strong session overall. Examiners noted improved clarity, coherence and factual accuracy in the essays. Well done. And thankfully fewer essays were over the 1600 word limit. The prescribed titles were mostly well unpacked and students showed growing confidence in argumentation. Well done ToK teachers is what IB are really saying. Now, the first key recommendation I've picked out from the report is to move beyond using the claim versus counterclaim structure. A recurring issue remains that too many essays still rely on the simplistic claim-counterclaim model. And I recently came across a school, I'm not going to say where, who thought that that structure was still in place. Now, this structure can show awareness of different perspectives, but it often leads to weak evaluation and contradictory conclusions. So instead, students should focus on evaluating the merits and limitations of knowledge arguments in a more nuanced and integrated manner. The second key recommendation that I've picked out is about the use and analysis of ToK concepts. Now, more students are including the 12 core ToK concepts and components of the knowledge framework, which is great. Again, well done ToK teachers. However, many students still drop them in superficially. And the examiners recommend that we encourage students to analyse and apply the ToK concepts rather than just mentioning them. And the third key recommendation to do with the essay is about the development of implications. Now, one of the big differentiators between a good and an excellent essay is the effective use of implications. And this means asking questions like, so what? Why does this matter? What are the wider consequences? Implications can relate to knowledge across different areas of knowledge or to core ToK concepts like ethics, scope and methodology. They should be integrated throughout the essay, not just included in the conclusion. And if you want to know more about implications, be sure to check out my short and concise video on them, linked above. Now, the fourth recommendation on the essay is that examples matter. And the examiners have said that the examples must be relevant, non-hypothetical, and ideally from the students' diploma subjects or life experiences, and used to support a knowledge argument, not just to illustrate a point. They talked about overused examples like Vitruvian Man or heliocentrism, and they said that these were appearing too frequently, but this is not penalised. It's just that originality helps to build both the argument and engagement, and therefore using a personal example is far more encouraged, as is building a personal example portfolio, which can be done during the ToK course. Finally, on the essay, there's a significant paragraph about academic integrity. The examiners have raised concerns about essays that followed generic templates or relied on AI-generated outlines. They said that supervision of the essay writing process and the use of proper referencing helps students to retain their academic integrity. Now, I thought there's a significant increase in emphasis on the importance of referencing examples in this examiner's report in comparison to previous examiners' report. Now, this is certainly something that examiners will be watching out for in the future, and I'll be placing greater emphasis on it with my own students. Now, before we move on to the second part of this video, which is about the ToK exhibition, I would politely but warmly ask you to press like to show your appreciation. It's easy and free to do, and it really helps me out. And if you find this content useful, then please press subscribe for more similar content in the future. Again, I'd be super grateful. Thank you. The second part of this video is the examiner's comments on the ToK exhibition. In general, the examiners said that the exhibition commentaries continued to improve, demonstrating better overall understanding, object variety, and connection to the prompt. Notably, the trend in the selection of objects is shifting from objects of personal attachment towards objects that genuinely serve the prompt in their specific link to the knowledge issues. And this, the examiners note, is a very positive development. And I'm sure that IB meant to write in there, well done ToK teachers. I'll just put it in there for them. The first key recommendation I picked out from the report concerns the description of objects and its link to the prompt and relevant ToK issues. The examiners commented that the object description should be concise and clearly relevant to the chosen prompt. Too many students are still over-describing or failing to link their object to a real ToK issue. Every description should point to the prompt. The comment that stood out for me in the report is that the examiner should know the prompt just from how the object is described. Now, the second interesting recommendation I picked out from the report is a clarification of the word context in relation to content. Now, this is really interesting to me because it represents one of the rare occasions when IB ToK examiners directly define a concept, and in this case it's the concept of context. The examiners note that there's an ongoing need to distinguish the content of the object, that's what it says, from its context, and they have defined context as the object's existence in time and space. They go on to say, where we saw difficulties, it seemed that students misunderstood context for content. So I will now be more explicit in directly teaching the difference between content and context, and I'm going to ask students to refer to this in their exhibition. Obviously, both context and content matter. The context helps to ground the ToK exhibition in the real world, which, after all, is the aim of the exhibition. Now, there's a lot more on this issue on page 12 of the November 24 subject report, which is available from the Programme Resource Centre at IB. The third recommendation I'm picking out is to avoid fictional worlds. Fictional objects or imagined contexts often weaken the exhibition. Instead, students should prioritise real-world items that provide opportunities to explore knowledge claims with actual implications. The fourth recommendation that I'm picking out is to focus on the whole prompt. Many students still only address part of the prompt, and this is something that I find a lot in my work with the students that I support from around the world. For example, if we look at prompt 12, is bias inevitable in the production of knowledge? Some students might give examples of bias, but not discuss whether bias is inevitable. So it's recommended that teachers remind students to respond to all of the keywords in the prompt, such as how, what role, why, and to what extent, and so on, not just pick up on the ToK concepts. The fifth recommendation from the report that I'm picking out is to develop students' skills in justifying the inclusion of the object and using evidence as part of that justification. So it's noted in the report that many exhibitions lack solid justification. Students should explicitly explain why each object was chosen and how it helps to answer the prompt. So we've got to encourage phrases like, this object contributes to my exhibition because, or this object shows how knowledge is shaped by, that sort of thing. This claim should then be explained by a use of a knowledge argument, and that knowledge argument should then be substantiated with evidence. And evidence can include newspaper articles, academic research, or even the student's own reflections. And a few final notes for teachers arising from the report include making use of themes, core or optional, to guide object choice. Well, it's there in the report and IB like it. Personally, I'm not sold on the need for the use of a theme, but I thought I'd put it in there because it's in the report. They've recommended that we teach students to treat the prompt as an ongoing debate or a problem. And that sort of hints at maybe more evaluative content, even though elsewhere and in previous subject reports, they said that they don't want evaluative content. So who knows? They recommend that we help students to develop skills in using evidence in ToK discussions and arguments. And they said that there should be balance across all three objects. So, you can have about 315 to 320 words per object, and word count matters. So the commentary needs to be concise and non-repetitive. Now, if you want more help on how to teach or structure the ToK exhibition, then check out my free 4-part course on how to do the ToK exhibition, which is linked in the video description. And if you're looking for inspiration for good answers to the ToK exhibition prompts, then check out my book, Every ToK Exhibition Prompt Explained, which is also linked in the video description. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Stay ToKtastic.